Have you noticed that page builders are evolving? I mean, I'm talking about Divi, Elementor, Generate Press. I mean, all these, Oxygen, they're all evolving. And they're evolving to a workflow which has variables and CSS classes. Now we are going to be having tokens, which makes the designing of our websites much, much easier. Now, if you haven't noticed it, let me show you what is happening. So over here, I just pulled off this blog here, and this is on the Elementor website. And you can see here, they're talking about variables in CSS. Okay. So when you scroll down here, you start to notice that, okay, before there was this workflow where everything was just drag and drop. We never saw the code. All we did was we just styled everything, and every single, module or element that we added on the page, we went in and we styled it one by one. Now, that is not an efficient way of designing websites because that's too much code for each and every item. What is better is to have a file which then controls all the sizes across the whole website. But anyway, I'm moving too fast. Check this out. So already you can do this in Elementor. You see that? You declare all your variables here in the roots. You specify your colors. And then this becomes the color that is used across the whole website. As I mentioned before, this is something that I noticed that is happening to page builders. Now, Generate Press, same thing. I've been watching a few tutorials and I noticed that they also have variables and classes in their design, in their page builder. So this in itself raises a massive question. And the question is, if you're a beginner, how do you get started in web design? How? Do you go in and start designing websites the old way of designing websites, the drag and drop and the customizations of each and every module one by one? Or do you use CSS classes to tokenize the whole thing? That's the question. And I've really thought about it for a very, very long time because I was getting very, very frustrated with Divi as I was designing my websites. And I said to myself, surely there should be an easier way of designing my website that is very easy to maintain and very easy to manage. And this is where I came up with SiteKrafter. Now, I want to show you something quickly. Okay, so over here, I have a text module. In fact, let's just add another one. Let's add a blurb. Okay, so we have these two items, right? So let's say, and this is the old way of doing things, by the way. We're going to duplicate this so that at least we can see what is happening. All right. So in the first instance here, I have a text module. So if you're a beginner, you want to get started with Divi, you would come over here, highlight the text, you'd go in here, set this to heading 2, for example, right? So let's go in and set this to heading 2. All right. So now that that is set to heading 2, the next step now is to stylize it. Okay. So you'd come over here to the design tab. So you'd go to heading text, and then now we're on heading 2. Right? So this is where you'd go in. If you wanted to choose a font, you'd go in and specify the font here. But of course, I don't recommend that. Okay. You scroll down here. If you want to choose a color, you'll choose a color by clicking here. Now, at least they have, new color system, which is based on HSL, which is fantastic. This is a new thing. Okay. We didn't have that before. So you'd go in, add your colors here, but you see that I'm going in one by one, making changes to pretty much everything. Okay, text size, I would go in here, add my size. Now there's a bit of an improvement because now we have min, max, clamp, and so on. So I would use clamp anyway. But each and every time you go in and want to stylize a heading, you would go in and set the clamp size. Now there's also a workaround, of course, if you want to, if you don't want to go in and add the size over and over again, you would set it here, and then you'd come over here to your presets and then set your preset here. Okay. But here's where things get very difficult. If you wanted to further stylize this, maybe you want to go in and, give this a bit of a, padding. So you'd come over here to spacing, and then you'd say, okay, I want to give this a padding of 3 rem. Okay. Top, bottom, left, right, and yeah, left and right. Okay. Like that. Now, do you see how many times I'm clicking? It's just too many clicks. Now, let's say down the line, I decide, you know what, maybe this padding is a bit too much. I want to reduce it, right? I would need to come back over here to this element, and then I would go back in here and say, okay, 2, and then this one here, let's bring it down to 2. Now, what if you had 10 items like this across the website that you need to change? Imagine what you need to go through. A lot, okay? Now, here's a much better workflow. And by the way, let me just add a basic color here in the background so we can see what we're doing, okay? So I'm gonna do it the old way, okay? We click in here and then we just find a color to add. Okay, so there we go, F2, 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 right? So that will be the workflow, right? Now, I wanna show you how a class-based system works. And I want you to, take note of how many times I'm going to click in order for me to achieve a stylized version of what we've just done, okay? So I click on it once, okay, that's 1. You'd come over here, that's 2. And then over here, 3. And then I just say SK. My sizes are done. I don't need to go in and set heading 2, my paragraph text. And by the way, this text is responsive, okay? You don't need to worry about setting your sizes for screen sizes or different screen. No, it just works across all screen sizes, okay? The next thing I want to do is to add, padding around this. So it's PAD large, okay? That's my padding. Done. I don't even need to do much. I want to add a background color. Now notice I'm still in my CSS class editor, okay? Now I can just say BG gray, and let's say gray 100. You see that? Easy. Okay. I want to add, padding above, margin top, large. And then I also want to do a margin bottom, large. Now, do you see how this is much cleaner? It took, much less time. At any point, if I need to decide, oh, you know what? I need to change the color of this. Okay, so I can say, okay, I want to change this to a primary color. And this is a color from my color palette, okay? So I'm going to say PRI, and that's my primary color, okay? So let's say I want to change this and make it darker. Look at that, primary 600, primary 800. So I can just go in and add my values in here. Maybe I want to change this and say, use my accent color. There we go, that's my accent color. Just like that, right? So everywhere I'm going to design, all right? So now let's go into this blurb, okay? We're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna click once, and then I'm gonna come over here to advanced. Now notice I'm skipping this design tab, okay? I'm skipping it completely. I don't even need to touch it at all right? So I'm gonna come over here, ID and classes. So I'm gonna start with my padding, PAD, and let's say large. I'm gonna say BG, and I'm gonna use the same color, accents, and let's go with 500, okay? So it's the same color as the above, right? Accent 500. And let's say, what else do I need to do? Okay, let's add our text here. So I've just added SK to make it responsive. And across the whole website, BG ACC for accent 500 is the same color. If I need to change this color here, let's say the client comes again and says, you know what, we are rebranding, we've got new colors now, blah, 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 blah. All they have to do is to give you the hexadecimal values or the HSL values. And all you need to do is to go to one place on your website, okay? You go to one place on your website, and that is where you make the change, and it's a sweeping update. It just happens just like that. All the colors will update. If it's about changing the fonts, you change your font in one place, and that's it. So what am I saying in this video? Well, what I'm saying is, if you're going to be doing inline editing, which is spending so much in this design tab, it's going to be very, 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 very difficult for you to achieve websites super fast and websites that are easy to maintain. You're going to need a class-based system, okay? For example, here, if you were to go in and add a border, you can go in and add it manually here, okay? But I don't need to do that. I'll just come over here. In fact, what are we editing? Okay, this one here. I will just go in and say, okay, radius large. Okay, see that? That's it. My rounded corners have been added. Maybe I want to go extra large. I'll do the same thing here on the top. I'll just copy that like that. And same thing. I'll just come over here to advanced and then just paste it. So across the whole website, all I need to remember is my radius or my rounded corners are XL. Maybe one day I decide, you know what, XL is just too much. I don't like this design. I can just go in and say, okay, we're going to keep it at large or maybe even small. Okay, across the whole website. And the really cool thing about this is once I've designed this whole thing, I can also come over here and set it as a preset. But it's a preset of a completely designed item. That's where the power of a class-based workflow comes in. And even if you look at the new page builders like Etch, they're going back to the basics. It's all about code. You have to know what code is going in so that you have, at the end of the day, you have clean code and you have websites that are easier to maintain, easier to manage, and pretty much, easier to update. So, have you seen this evolution in page builders? What workflow are you using at the moment? Are you going to keep on using the inline editing, or you're going to move into the new way of designing, which is variables and classes and so on? Because as you know, or as I mentioned, Elementor is moving that way. In fact, they're a new editor. In fact, let's take a look here. Elementor new editor. You're going to see that they have a totally new workflow. Okay, Elementor new editor. I mean, it's a new system they're introducing. Look at this. This is the version 4 alpha. I mean, it's amazing. Hopefully I can just get a page that shows it. Oh, there we go. And it's emphasizing on generating cleaner code. Okay, so there we go. I don't think it mentions it, but oh, there we go. Okay, it's not going into detail. Oh, there we go. Variables, classes. You see that? So this is Elementor. This is one of the most popular page builders out there, and they're moving into this system here. I mean, isn't that crazy? Anyway, I would like to hear your thoughts on the new or the evolution of page builders. Let me know what you think, and what are your plans moving forward as someone who wants to go into web design or at least wants to start a career in design. Let me know in the comments box. Till next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.